Hey Collective, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day today. So today, I'd like to talk about the 5 personalities that can't ever be wrong. Now you've probably heard of people talk about NPCs. Today, I'm going to talk about HCPs, or high conflict personalities. They're masters of deflection, twisting every single situation to make themselves the victim and you somehow the villain. Have you ever been in an argument with someone where you're armed with stone-cold facts, you have the receipts, you know you're right, but you still walk away feeling like you're losing your mind? You're not imagining it, and you're not crazy. That feeling of confusion, frustration, and crippling self-doubt is the calling card of a very specific type of individual, what experts call a high conflict personality. These aren't just difficult people. They're individuals who are often psychologically incapable of self-reflection. They have a predictable pattern of behavior defined by 4 key traits: a preoccupation with blaming others, all or nothing thinking, unmanaged and intense emotions, and extreme behaviors 90% of people would never dream of doing. In their world, facts aren't objective truths. They're weapons you're using to attack them. And because of this, they will never, ever admit that they're wrong. So today, let's talk about the 5 distinct high conflict personality types that are psychologically wired to reject the facts. And more importantly, I'll give you the tools to protect your peace and stop the cycle of chaos for good. All right. Let's kick it off with the personality type most people are at least a little familiar with. But its high conflict version is uniquely destructive: the narcissistic high conflict person. At their core, narcissistic individuals have a desperate need to be seen as superior. Their entire self-worth is balanced on a fragile ego that demands constant admiration. When this is combined with a high conflict pattern, this need for superiority becomes an obsession with finding a target of blame, someone they need to devalue in order to feel valuable themselves. Their signature behaviors include relentless criticism, often delivered in public to maximize humiliation and assert their dominance. They're the partners who will insult your intelligence in front of friends, and when you get upset, they'll accuse you of being too sensitive or unable to take a joke. They take credit for every success and deflect blame for any failure, a pattern that research shows prevents them from ever learning from their mistakes. A study from Oregon State University even found that when narcissists get something wrong, they'll claim the outcome was completely unforeseeable, saying nobody could have guessed or they never saw it coming. But when they get it right, it's always, I knew it all along. They also pride themselves on thinking they know other people better than they know themselves, and love to make claims of certainty, like, watch, they'll be back, or they'll never make it without me. Here's a classic example. Imagine you and your narcissistic partner are headed to an event. You're running late on getting ready, so instead of simple, oops, let's hurry up, they explode. You always do this. You know I hate being late. I hate being the last one to arrive. It's your fault if we had bad seats. Suddenly, the simple fact of what time it is gets completely lost. You are now the saboteur, the villain in their story of being victimized. Facts don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. All that matters is preserving their sense of perfection and assigning all the blame to you. They don't have real empathy for your feelings. Their only goal is to win in the moment and reinforce their own superiority. Okay, next up, we have the borderline high conflict person. While narcissists are obsessed with their own superiority, the borderline HCP is preoccupied with relationships and intense crushing fear of abandonment. This fear is what drives a painful and volatile cycle of idealization and devaluation that can leave you with emotional whiplash. One moment you're the center of their universe, their greatest friend, the most amazing partner, the only person who truly gets them. They cling to you, showering you with affection, but the second they perceive a slight, the text message that took too long to answer, a change in plans, a tone in your voice they don't like, that fear of abandonment gets triggered, and they flip. In an instant, you're no longer their savior, you're their ultimate betrayer. Their behavior is defined by this dramatic swing from adoration to rage. They're prone to shocking outbursts, followed by mood swings that can take them from fury back to friendliness in a stunningly short amount of time. This isn't just being moody, it's a deeply ingrained pattern of emotional dysregulation. Let's say you have a friend with these traits. For weeks, she's been calling you her bestest best friend in the whole wide world. One day, you have to cancel your coffee date because of a last-minute work emergency. You text her to explain. Instead of understanding, you get a flood of accusations. I knew I couldn't count on you. You're probably just blowing me off for someone else. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? They might start posting passive-aggressive things about disloyal friends on social media and completely rewrite your friendship's history to make you the bad guy. They twist the situation to frame your actions as a personal, malicious attack, a form of abandonment. Trying to reason with them using facts is completely pointless. The emotional reality of their fear has already bulldozed any objective truth. To them, being wrong feels like annihilation, and they will fight back with everything they've got. The third personality, and one of the most dangerous, is the antisocial, high-conflict person. You might know this type by other names, sociopath or psychopath. And for some of us, there are friends, family members, or who we're married to and sleeping next to every night. These individuals are defined by a chilling lack of conscience, paired with a superficial charm that can be incredibly deceptive. They're true con artists. While a narcissist needs to feel superior, an antisocial HCP is driven by a need for dominance, control, and getting what they want, no matter who gets hurt. They see other people not as human beings with feelings, but as pawns on a chessboard to be manipulated. They can be aggressive, cruel, and completely without remorse. Their loyalty is only to themselves. Their blame shifting is calculated and predatory. They blame their targets for getting in the way of their schemes or for simply being a convenient scapegoat. They will lie with a perfectly straight face, manufacture evidence, and feel zero guilt about destroying someone's reputation, finances, or well-being to get what they want. Consider this workplace situation. A new team member with antisocial traits joins your department. He's incredibly charming at first, winning everyone over. He gets you assigned to a new project with him. Behind the scenes, he's cutting corners and misusing company resources. When you bring up your concerns, he just flashes that confident, charming smile and says, "Don't worry about it." When the project inevitably crashes and burns, costing the company a ton of money, he doesn't miss a beat. He marches straight to management with a masterpiece of fiction, complete with doctored emails proving that you were the incompetent one who was responsible for the whole disaster. He blames you for ruining his brilliant plan. He won't just deny the facts, he will invent an entirely new set of them. He'll look you right in the eye while lying, feeling nothing but the thrill of a successful con. For the sociopath or psychopath, truth isn't a concept, it's a tool. And if the truth doesn't work, they'll just create a more convenient one. Our fourth type is the paranoid high-conflict person. For them, the world is a fundamentally hostile place. They're defined by a deep and baseless suspicion of others, believing they're constantly being persecuted, conspired against, and treated unjustly. This isn't just general anxiety, it's a fixed belief system. They can hold grudges for years over tiny slights that most people would have forgotten in minutes. And because they believe a threat is always lurking, they often launch preemptive attacks, striking out at a perceived enemy before that person has a chance to harm them. This makes them highly likely to file lawsuits, make formal complaints, and drag people into long, exhausting battles over issues that seem minor to everyone else. Their target of blame is anyone they see as a part of the conspiracy against them. Any attempt to show them facts that contradict their fears is seen not as a clarification, but as proof of the conspiracy. If you disagree with them, you're not just wrong, you're in on the plot. Imagine you live next door to someone with these tendencies. One night, you have a few friends over for a backyard barbecue. The next morning, a certified letter from your homeowners association lands on your doorstep, accusing you of hosting loud, disruptive parties, breaking all the noise ordinances in your community. You're completely stunned. You try to talk to them, explaining it was just a small get-together, it won't happen all the time. But to the paranoid HCP, your calm explanation is just a clever lie. The fact that you're denying it just proves how deceitful you are. They will see your friendliness as manipulation and your lack of evidence as a cover-up. They have already cast you as their persecutor, and every single thing you do will be filtered through that lens. Admitting they were wrong isn't an option, because for them, it would mean dismantling the very worldview that helps them feel safe. And rounding out our list is the histrionic, high-conflict person. If life were a movie, they would be the writer, director, and star of it. They're defined by a desperate need to be the center of attention and are absolute masters of drama. Their emotional displays are often over the top and theatrical, designed to pull other people into their personal crises. They often tend to see relationships as much more intimate than they actually are, which leads them to feel deeply, dramatically hurt when their oversized expectations aren't met. When they don't get the attention they crave, they turn on the target of blame with dramatic public accusations. They aren't just shifting the blame, they're creating a spectacle. They will exaggerate and even fabricate stories to paint their target as a monster and themselves as the suffering martyr, recruiting others to their side as a sympathetic audience. Here's an example. In a team meeting, you offer a polite, constructive suggestion on a project led by a histrionic HCP. Instead of discussing the idea, her face crumbles. She bursts into tears and dramatically flees the room. Later, you find out she's been telling everyone, including HR, that you've viciously attacked her work, humiliated her in front of the team, and are trying to sabotage her career because you're jealous of her talent. The facts of what happened, that you made a calm, professional suggestion, are now completely irrelevant. She has rewritten the event into a blockbuster narrative of betrayal and victimization. She doesn't just believe she's right, she is performing her rightness for an audience. To admit she overreacted would mean giving up the spotlight, and for the histrionic HCP, being ignored is a fate far worse than being wrong. Okay, so you've seen the patterns. The narcissist who needs to be superior, the borderline who fears abandonment, the antisocial who wants to dominate, the paranoid who sees conspiracies, and the histrionic who craves drama. The one thing they all have in common? For them, feelings don't just trump facts, they are the facts. Their objective reality is secondary to their emotional needs. This is the fundamental reason you can never win an argument with them using logic. Their thinking isn't governed by reason. It's driven by unmanaged emotions and a rigid, all-or-nothing worldview. When you present a fact that contradicts their narrative, they don't hear it as information. They feel it as a personal attack. A fact that proves them wrong is a threat to their very identity. A narcissist sees it as an attempt to prove they're not superior. A borderline person feels it as a sign of rejection. A paranoid individual sees it as confirmation of the plot against them. Their response isn't to reflect, but to escalate. They'll double down on the blame, crank up the emotional intensity, and resort to extreme behaviors to defend their position. Arguing with facts only gives them more emotional fuel. You aren't in a debate. You're a character in a drama they wrote, and you've been cast as the villain. The only way to win? Refuse to play the game. So if facts don't work, what does? You have to shift your goal from winning the argument to simply managing the interactions. The most powerful tool for this comes from the work of Bill Eddy at the High Conflict Institute, and it's called the BIF response. And I don't mean best friends forever. It's a method for communicating that is designed to de-escalate conflict, not pour gasoline on it. BIF stands for brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Let's break that down. First, brief. Keep your response short, like a single paragraph at most. Long, detailed explanations just give a high conflict person more ammunition to use against you later. Brevity signals that you aren't available for a dramatic back and forth. Second, informative. This is where you use facts, but in a very specific, neutral way. Stick only to objective information, no opinions, no emotions, no defensiveness, and no accusations. Just the facts. Not I feel, not you always, just the meeting is at 3 p.m. Period. Third, friendly. This can be the hardest part, but it's critical. Your tone should be neutral and respectful, like you're talking to a casual coworker. It doesn't have to be warm and gushy. A simple thanks for letting me know or have a good week is enough. A friendly tone is disarming, and it gives them nothing to fight against. Finally, firm. This means your response should end the conversation. Don't ask open-ended questions that invite more drama. State your information or your boundary clearly. This signals that the discussion is over. Let's see it in action. Imagine you get a long, rambling, accusatory email from your co-parent about you being 5 minutes late last week to pick up the kids. A typical reactive response would be, "That's not even true. I was 2 minutes late because of traffic, and you were 15 minutes late last week and I didn't say anything. You always exaggerate everything just to make me look bad." That response is emotional, defensive, and full of bait. It guarantees the conflict will escalate. Now, let's rebuild that with a BIF response. "Thanks for your message. I can confirm I will pick up the kids tomorrow at 4 p.m. as scheduled. All the best." It's brief, it's informative, it's friendly, it's firm, and it gives them absolutely nothing to sink their claws into. Learning this skill takes practice, but it's an absolute game changer. The narcissistic, borderline, antisocial, paranoid, and histrionic high-conflict personalities are all driven by different inner worlds, but they share one powerful, unifying trait. They're psychologically incapable of being wrong. Their reality is built on a foundation of blame. You cannot change them. You cannot reason with them. You cannot use facts to break through their emotional armor. But you can change how you engage. By recognizing the pattern, refusing to get pulled into the drama, and using structured, non-emotional communication, you can take your power back. Remember, their need to be right is not a reflection of your worth or your reality. You are not the problem. Your experience is valid. Step out of their conflict cycle, stop feeding the chaos, and start reclaiming your energy, your sanity, and your peace. I hope this helped. If you learned something today, please like and subscribe. And until next time, friends, keep healing. See ya.